It is Thursday, October 3rd, 2019, and this is the Pro and the Con Show, and I'm your host, Michael James Ott. So, as always, encouraging openness to at least opposing views. Would go through and talk about some of the bias in the information sources, but today I just wanted to talk about a topic, renovation. So in yesterday's show, I talked briefly about how my mother is downsizing. So she's being fiscally or financially responsible. And now that things have changed in her life and it's not appropriate, or she feels like it's pretty difficult, and at age 90 it is, to be a landlord. Now she's shifting where she's living to be fiscally responsible. And part of that was a renovation. Okay, and so I helped one of my sisters, or my surviving sister, and myself, and then there was a few other family members, and a few others will help out as well. But we did a renovation of her home. So old carpet out, new carpet in, old kitchen out, new kitchen in, new door between the garage and the interior of the house, and so on. So why do I bring this up? Well, the analogy is just like the house that she bought, had some pretty solid features to it, we thought. So the roof was fairly new and in good shape. The heating and air conditioning system, fairly new and in good shape. Generally, the windows and stuff like that, doors and things, all in pretty good shape. So the bones of the house, for the most part, pretty good. And then there's some things that need to be fixed to make it better. And that's exactly the analogy for our U.S. government. So I've talked in the past about how the structure of the government is fine. The the division of power, if you will, between the three points on the triangle, so the executive, the judicial, and the legislative, that all seems like that's quite good. And the example I give is that, you insert probably one of the worst people that you possibly can in supposedly the most important position in that government structure, and yet we continue. And life goes on, albeit perhaps not as well as it could. Well, we know it could be better, but okay, that's what it is. So the structure is sound. So now we've got to renovate, not revolutionize. So no revolution, no evolution. Renovate. We have to renovate the U.S. government. We have to renovate the U.S. government by changing the way that we get people into office. And I spoke about this before, and just briefly. So, throw away most of the current system. Obviously, we still, take a popular vote and can keep the Electoral College. I don't think it matters once we had better candidates to be elected. I don't think it matters. I think we would all be better off if we just had way better candidates. Well, where do we get them? Well, the best analogy is jury duty. And this is, some of my friends and I were talking about, election reform and how to get better candidates. And one of them, a very astute fellow, said, it should be more like jury duty. That just like you... in jury duty, you're an adult and there's certain criteria, but then you're kind of randomly selected for a jury pool. You don't automatically go into the jury, but you are selected as a potential candidate for the jury. And then, you all participate, and then there's a selection process within the courtroom. And then those people that are selected participate in the jury. And what do? They do the best that they can. They do as instructed by the system, right? By the court system. And so this election system would be the same. We would take just candidates that meet certain criteria, and they would just be randomly selected across all 50 states. And then there would be a screening process, but instead of in a court of law, there would just be mandatory disclosure of various information, work history, education history, maybe reference letters from 20 people that know this person, this potential pool candidate. And all that goes into the system. It's secure. It's a central system that's well protected. We can know, and the candidates can test. Yes, the information that is placed there is my information. These are my friends. This is what they've said about me. This is my work history, and so on. It's truthful. That's there. And then you and I would look at these potential candidates, and based on various criteria in our own heads, what would make a good leader, what would make a good servant of the people, we would prioritize them, and then so that would cause a kind of a preliminary election that would cause some dozens of these people across the nation to bubble to the top, and then those people would go through additional screening. So maybe then they'd be take or participate in town hall meetings or various other speaking events or debates or whatever. But it'd all be very standardized, and everyone would be treated the same. And ultimately, then there would be a secondary election or a secondary choice, if you will. And that would lead to the final candidates. And then those final candidates would do maybe one more round of town halls or debates or whatever to allow us to make a final judgment as to, who of the surviving 3 candidates for president would be the best one, or senator from Montana or whatever. Okay. So renovate the U.S. government. If we do that, wow, life would be so much better. Our government would serve us so much better. And I can guarantee that would be true, because the people serving would be people who would serve, as opposed to the current people who volunteer for these positions because they are, at least some portion of them, and it depends on the individual. I'm not saying that all of them are just absolutely power-hungry, power-mongering people, but there's a portion of them, for all of them, the current candidates, a portion of them that would be king. And that's the part that we got to get out of there. Okay? And plus, it doesn't matter. You could be profoundly flawed emotionally or intellectually, but if you manage to convince enough people that you'll do what you promise, make all kinds of promises, you theoretically can get elected. And this is and because of the 2-party system, there's very, very few candidates that we can actually look at for these final positions. So let's get rid of the 2-party system. Let's get rid of all the big money lobbying, all of the attack ads, all of that money that's spent, all of it. We can get rid of all of it and have much, much, much better representatives by adopting this variant of the jury pool system for elected officials. Okay, so for Thursday, October 3rd, 2019, again, I am Michael James Ott. This is the Pro and Con Show. Until the next show, which very likely will be tomorrow, I hope you have an awesome, awesome day. Bye for now.